Warren Buffett's rule. 5 things rich Americans never waste money on. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to accumulate wealth almost effortlessly, while others struggle paycheck to paycheck, regardless of their income? I used to think wealth was just about making more money. But after years studying the habits of America's truly wealthy, I discovered something surprising. What if I told you that getting rich isn't really about what you earn, but what you don't waste money on? Most Americans focus entirely on increasing their income, working longer hours, chasing promotions, only to wonder why their financial situation never really improves. Here's something that might surprise you. Warren Buffett, one of the richest men in world history, still lives in the same modest house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. The man worth over $100 billion drives ordinary cars and lives a remarkably frugal life. And he's not alone. Many of America's truly wealthy follow similar patterns that fly directly in the face of what we see on social media and reality TV shows. Today, I'm going to share the 5 things that rich Americans, following Buffett's philosophy, absolutely refuse to waste their money on. These aren't small, insignificant expenses. These are financial traps that keep millions of Americans from building real wealth. Some of these might challenge your current habits. Others might confirm what you suspected all along. But understanding them could completely transform your financial future. By the end of this video, I'll reveal the secret to building wealth that Warren Buffett and other billionaires have adopted. It's a principle so simple yet profound that implementing it can completely change your financial trajectory starting tomorrow. If you're tired of working hard without getting rewarded, type value in the comments if you're ready to learn these important lessons. Now, let's find out the first thing that wealthy Americans never waste their money on. Waste number 1, luxury brand status symbols. Have you ever noticed someone stretching their budget to buy a luxury handbag or watch they can barely afford? That's a behavior you'll rarely see among the genuinely wealthy. While the media portrays rich Americans draped in designer labels and status symbols, the reality is strikingly different. The truly wealthy understand that paying premium prices solely for brand names is one of the fastest ways to undermine wealth building. Warren Buffett exemplifies this principle perfectly. Despite having the resources to own any vehicle on the planet, he famously drove a 2014 Cadillac XTS. A nice car, certainly, but hardly the Bentley or Rolls-Royce that many would expect. I only drive about 3,500 miles a year, so I will buy a new car very infrequently, he once explained. This mindset, focusing on utility rather than status, permeates how the wealthy approach their spending on everything from clothes to accessories. Research from Thomas Stanley, author of The Millionaire Next Door, confirms this pattern. His studies found that most millionaires wear watches that cost under $500, not the $10,000 plus timepieces many associate with wealth. They understand intuitively what marketing firms spend billions hoping you'll never realize, that luxury brands primarily sell status, not superior functionality or quality commensurate with their markup. This doesn't mean the wealthy don't appreciate fine things. Rather, they purchase based on actual value, durability, and functionality, not for the social signaling a logo provides. They might spend extra for quality that lasts, but balk at paying thousands more just for a specific brand name. When they do buy luxury items, it's typically after their wealth is secure, not as a step toward building it. Remember, most people who look rich aren't. They're simply spending money they haven't truly earned yet on things they don't actually need to impress people they don't even know. I remember meeting Thomas, who built a $20 million business from scratch. Walking through his home, I was struck by the absence of obvious status brands. His watch was a dependable Seiko, not a Rolex. His furniture was high quality, but from mainstream manufacturers. When I asked about this, his answer was illuminating. I don't need logos to validate my worth. I prefer putting that money toward assets that appreciate rather than depreciate. This perspective, valuing substance over status, is remarkably common among self-made millionaires. Let's move to the second thing wealthy Americans never waste money on, something that drains millions of Americans' bank accounts every month. Waste number 2, high-interest consumer debt. Have you checked how much interest you're paying each month on credit cards, auto loans, or store financing? The wealthy have, and they've made a fundamental decision that separates them from the financial struggles most Americans face. They refuse to pay high interest to finance consumption. While average Americans routinely pay 16 to 25% interest on credit cards and 6 to 10% on auto loans, the truly wealthy view this practice as an unconscionable waste of financial resources. Warren Buffett has spoken repeatedly about the devastating impact of high-interest debt, noting that if you're smart, you're going to make a lot of money without borrowing. He understands what many miss, that high-interest debt is effectively paying a premium on everything you purchase, a premium that compounds against you rather than for you over time. Imagine paying $125 for something that costs $100, then paying interest on that premium too. That's the reality of consumer debt. I recall consulting with Richard, who had a household income over $300,000, yet couldn't figure out why he constantly felt financially stretched. When we analyzed his finances, we discovered he was paying over $2,100 monthly in interest alone on credit cards, car loans, and store financing. That's more than $25,000 annually just in interest payments. By contrast, his neighbor earned half his income but had greater financial security because she followed the wealthy's principle of avoiding high-interest debt entirely. What many don't grasp is the mathematical impossibility of building wealth while simultaneously carrying expensive consumer debt. If you're paying 18% interest on credit cards while hoping to earn 8 to 10% on investments, you're fighting a losing battle against financial physics. The wealthy understand this intuitively and operate differently. They save for purchases rather than financing them. They use credit cards for convenience or rewards, not as lending tools, paying balances in full each month. When they do finance purchases, they do so strategically at favorable rates, often leveraging assets rather than income. This doesn't mean all debt is avoided. The wealthy often use strategic low-interest debt for appreciating assets like real estate, but they draw a clear line against paying double-digit interest rates to finance depreciating consumer goods or lifestyle expenses. They understand a profound truth that financial freedom isn't just about what you earn. It's about how much of your earnings you keep rather than surrender to lenders through interest payments. Now, let's uncover the third category of spending that wealthy Americans systematically avoid. Waste number 3, depreciation-heavy new vehicles. Have you ever driven a new car off the dealership lot and felt that rush of excitement? The wealthy rarely experience that feeling. Not because they can't afford it, but because they understand the massive financial cost hidden within that emotional experience. Luxury automobiles and new vehicles represent one of the largest wealth-eroding expenses in most American households, and is an expense that genuinely wealthy deliberately minimize. The statistics are startling. A typical new car loses 20 to 30% of its value in the first year alone. Some luxury models depreciate even faster. Think about that. Someone purchasing a $40,000 new vehicle effectively loses $8,000 to $12,000 just by driving it for 1 year. Warren Buffett once noted, "The happiest people do not necessarily have the best things. They simply appreciate the things they have." This philosophy extends perfectly to his approach to vehicles. Functional, reliable transportation without the premium charge for that new car smell. I remember meeting with Sarah, a quiet millionaire who built her wealth through smart real estate investments. While her peers drove luxury SUVs, she drove a 4-year-old Toyota she'd purchased used. Every dollar not spent on car depreciation is a dollar I can put toward assets that appreciate, she explained. When we calculated the difference between her approach and her colleague who leased a new luxury vehicle every 3 years, the gap was astonishing. Over $500,000 in wealth impact over 25 years when accounting for both the direct savings and the compound growth of those saved dollars. What the wealthy understand about vehicles is the concept of total cost of ownership. They focus not just on purchase price, but on depreciation, insurance, maintenance, fuel efficiency, and resale value. They typically purchase vehicles coming off 2 to 3 year leases, when the steepest appreciation has already occurred, but the vehicle still has many years of reliable service ahead. They tend to keep vehicles longer, often 7 to 10 years or more, extracting maximum value from their transportation investment. This doesn't mean the wealthy drive clunkers or sacrifice safety and reliability. They simply apply rational economic thinking to a category where most Americans make emotionally driven decisions with significant financial consequences. They understand that transportation is primarily a utility, getting safely and comfortably from point A to point B, rather than a status statement. By minimizing this major expense category, they free up substantial resources for wealth-building investments. Let's move to our fourth wealth-draining expense that rich Americans systematically avoid. Waste number 4, financial ignorance tax. Have you ever paid hundreds or thousands of dollars more than necessary for a financial product or service simply because you didn't understand the fine print? That's what I call the financial ignorance tax. And it's an expense that wealthy Americans refuse to pay. This isn't a tax collected by the government, but rather by financial institutions that profit from complexity and consumer confusion. The truly wealthy invest time to understand money fundamentals, saving themselves thousands annually that others routinely forfeit through inattention or intimidation. Warren Buffett exemplifies this principle with his famous advice: never invest in a business you cannot understand. He applies the same thinking to personal finance, avoiding complex products with hidden fees or terms designed to benefit the seller more than the buyer. Where most Americans sign financial agreements without fully comprehending their implications, the wealthy take time to understand exactly what they're agreeing to, or they walk away. The financial ignorance tax appears in countless forms: excessive mutual fund expense ratios, unnecessary life insurance products, extended warranties, high 401k administration fees, excessive advisory fees, suboptimal tax strategies, and banking arrangements laden with hidden charges. The middle class typically accepts these costs as unavoidable, while the wealthy recognize them as optional expenses that can be minimized through knowledge and attention. What's particularly insidious about the financial ignorance tax is its invisibility. Most people never realize how much they're paying because the expenses are embedded within larger transactions or deducted automatically from accounts. The wealthy, by contrast, scrutinize these costs carefully, understanding that seemingly small percentage differences compound dramatically over time. A single percentage point in investment fees, for instance, can reduce a retirement portfolio by hundreds of thousands of dollars over a working lifetime. I worked with Michael, who had accumulated substantial wealth despite a modest income as a school administrator. His secret? He treated financial education as a requirement, not an option. I spent about 2 hours weekly reading about financial matters, he explained. It's the highest paid work I do. This investment time saved him over $8,400 annually just in optimized insurance policies, eliminated bank fees, improved mortgage terms, and reduced investment costs. Savings that compounded significantly over decades. The wealthy don't necessarily become financial experts in all areas, but they develop enough fundamental knowledge to ask the right questions, recognize unfavorable terms, and know when to seek truly independent advice. They understand that financial education offers perhaps the highest return on investment available, knowledge that saves and generates wealth throughout their lifetime. Now, let's examine the fifth and final category of spending that wealthy Americans systematically avoid. Waste number 5, the conspicuous consumption trap. Have you ever upgraded your lifestyle immediately after receiving a raise or a bonus? That's a behavior you'll rarely observe among the genuinely wealthy. While Americans at most income levels typically increase their spending in proportion to their income, buying bigger homes, more expensive cars, and pricey vacations as their earnings rise, the truly wealthy follow a different pattern. They maintain a deliberate gap between what they can afford and what they actually spend, regardless of income level. This disciplined resistance to lifestyle inflation represents one of their most powerful wealth-building strategies. Warren Buffett's lifestyle embodies this principle perfectly. Despite becoming one of the world's richest individuals, he has maintained essentially the same standard of living for decades. Do not save what is left after spending. Spend what is left after saving encapsulates his approach. This inverted priority, where saving and investing come before discretionary spending, creates an ever-widening prosperity gap between the wealthy and those who merely maintain high consumption levels. I remember meeting Jennifer, who built an 8-figure net worth starting from nothing. Despite her financial success, she lived in a pleasant but modest home and maintained disciplined spending habits. Most people try to look rich. I decided to be rich instead, she told me. When friends questioned why someone of her means didn't live more extravagantly, she explained that freedom and security were more valuable to her than displaying prosperity through consumption. The research is clear on this pattern. Thomas Stanley's studies of millionaires revealed that most live on less than 7% of their net worth annually, regardless of their wealth level. This controlled spending creates a powerful compounding effect. The unbought luxuries become investments that generate future wealth and income. Meanwhile, those focused on conspicuous consumption often find themselves on a hedonic treadmill, where each lifestyle upgrade quickly becomes a new normal, generating no lasting happiness while permanently elevating their cost of living. The wealthy understand something profound about human psychology, that satisfaction comes not from spending more, but from wanting less. They derive security and freedom from assets, not pleasure from possessions. This doesn't mean they live miserly lives. They simply make conscious decisions about what actually matters to them personally, rather than spending to meet social expectations or project a certain image. This resistance to lifestyle inflation creates what financial experts call stealth wealth, financial security that isn't obvious to casual observers. The family with the biggest house and newest luxury cars in the neighborhood rarely has the strongest balance sheet. The truly wealthy often live remarkably ordinary-looking lives by choice, prioritizing financial independence over the temporary satisfaction of conspicuous consumption. We've explored 5 critical areas where wealthy Americans, following Warren Buffett example, refuse to waste their money: status symbol luxury brands, high-interest consumer debt, depreciation-heavy new vehicles, the financial ignorance tax, and conspicuous consumption trap. These aren't just random spending categories. They represent the most significant wealth-eroding forces that keep millions of hard-working Americans from achieving true financial security. The powerful secret I promise to share is this: the wealthy understand that building wealth isn't about deprivation. It's about conscious allocation. They don't necessarily spend less overall. They simply direct their resources toward assets that appreciate rather than expenses that depreciate. This subtle but profound shift in perspective transforms money from something that merely flows through their lives into something that works for them, generating more wealth and creating genuine freedom. Implementing these principles doesn't require extraordinary income or even significant sacrifice. It simply requires making deliberate choices about what really matters to you, rather than allowing cultural expectations or clever marketing to make those decisions for you. It means understanding the true cost of your financial choices. Not just the price tag, but the opportunity cost of what those dollars could have done for you if directed elsewhere. As Warren Buffett wisely noted, someone's sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. Your financial choices today are planting the seeds of your future reality. By avoiding these 5 major money wasters, you redirect resources toward creating the shade you'll enjoy in the years ahead. If this video has helped you identify areas where you might be unknowingly undermining your financial future, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more practical wisdom about building real wealth. And I'd love to hear from you. Which of these wealth-draining categories hit home for you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, remember what the truly wealthy have always understood. Financial freedom isn't about making more. It's about wasting less on things that don't ultimately matter to you. That's the real secret to lasting wealth.